both sides of the aisle. Here with more on the incredible life of Senator Lindsey Graham, another friend of the program. Maybe we don't tell them enough, our friends, who they are. Senator Ted Cruz, the great state of Texas. God bless Texas. I still can't believe it, Senator. And we spent time with him. I remember a particular dinner, you know, and I don't go to dinner a lot, but you were there and he was there. Man, does he take over. And it was entertaining every minute of it.
Look, Lindsey was extraordinary. He was a dear friend of yours. He was a dear friend of mine. He was a force of nature. I mean, you look at his personal story growing up, humble circumstances in South Carolina, 33 years in the Air Force, 23 years in the Senate. He was energy. Every waking moment, he was focused on the job, and he was focused on fighting for this country. And listen, I didn't always agree with Lindsey. You didn't always agree with Lindsey, but he would argue from the heart, and he would argue passionately with good cheer. I cannot count how many dozens or hundreds of meals I've had with Lindsey. And every time you'd sit down and break bread with him, he would have you laughing so hard your ribs would hurt. He'd have this self-deprecating wit. Heck, he'd go on your show, as Tim was just saying a minute ago, he'd tell people to go to his website, and he'd say, you know, you may be a little old lady, your cat doesn't need food, I need your money. And it was done just lightly and with a twinkle in his eye. And he could be in a bare-knuckle fight and be pounding someone, and yet every single senator respected him, liked him. You and I talked yesterday. It's just stunning. I woke up yesterday morning, picked up my phone, and just stared in disbelief. I can't believe he's gone.
I don't think it's hit me completely yet, to be very honest. I mean, I spent probably from 4 a.m. plus in the morning till midnight last night on the phone talking to everybody in his staff. His staff is devastated. His family is devastated.
Yeah.
The people that loved him are devastated. And then, of course, you have the haters, which, you know, in Lindsey fashion, he'd probably be proud of that. And I'm not kidding. You know, he would find that hilarious.
He would laugh about it. Look, just a few days ago, Iran put out this nasty attack thing, putting a bullseye on his head. And Lindsey retweeted it and said, well, at least they used a good picture of me. I mean, that's Lindsey. And he would, look, one of the things that was most important, he was incredibly close friends with President Trump. President Trump loved him. And by the way, they disagreed on all sorts of issues, but he loved, and Lindsey would argue with him, but he'd crack a joke. And it was an amazing relationship. And he was wise counsel for the president. And look, Lindsey talked to the president all the time. You and I talked to the president very frequently. Lindsey was one of the single most important counselors and played a really important part in President Trump's success. And listen, his heart is hurting today, and so are yours and mine. I was on the Senate floor tonight, and it felt weird not seeing Lindsey come up and talk about, you know, all right, how do we fight to support our military? How do we fight to defeat Iran? Like he's always, I'll tell you something the Senate ought to do. We should put on the floor Lindsey's Russia sanctions bill. We ought to rename it the Lindsey Graham Russia Accountability Bill. We ought to pass it into law. That's a legacy because this man ferociously loved this country. And I consider it an incredible honor that I got to be his colleague for the last 14 years.
Do you think he was President Trump's closest friend in all of Congress? Because I believe he was.
Yes. Yes, hands down. I mean, he talked, well, you know, we sort of jokingly called him the Trump whisperer. I mean, he would talk to Trump early in the morning. He'd talk to him late at night. He'd talk to him on the golf course. And look, there are all sorts of times. All right, one story I've told. You had last year a show on this show where you had a half dozen senators, and Lindsey and I were two of them. And after your show, we all went to a dinner together, and we called President Trump, and it was right when his tariffs were going into effect, and the economy was having a pretty rough time. That call went past midnight. The president wasn't terribly happy with what we were saying. When we hung up the phone, Lindsey looked up and said, well, that didn't go well. And the next day, the president followed the counsel we gave. He was unhappy that night, but 12 hours later, And the result was the single biggest increase in the stock market in American history. That was the kind of thing Lindsey could do, which is give good advice, but not in a way that was offensive, that pissed you off. And that's why he was listened to and trusted by so many people, especially the president.
All I can say is, Senator, I'll miss him on a personal level. And I know you will, and I know the president will. We really appreciate you being with us, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas.
Thanks,
Thank you for being with us. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.